Hey, Robbie.
Man, this is like the perfect time for you.
Yeah, I'm pretty pumped about the time we picked for this recording. It's kind of like the Crushing Iron Midnight Madness for you.
Oh, dude, it's like way past Midnight Madness for me.
Am I going to have to carry this one, man?
Man, this may be your turn to finally carry one. It is late for me, and the last 3 days have been exhausting. So.
Oh, okay. Well, we can.
But it's all right.
Are you going to make it? I mean, it's 8 o'clock.
Heck yeah, I'm going to make it. Are you serious?
All right. I mean, with all the now, we've got a lot of activity going on in that closed Facebook group. So if anybody's listening, you might want to send us a little approval notice or whatever it is. Search the Crushing Iron group, and we'll hook you up. There's a lot of stuff going on there. Can you believe the range of geographical locations that we've got going in here?
International flavor.
International flavor it is. It's been pretty cool. And
international flavor.
I know. I like it.
I do too, man.
So, yeah, I just got done with a run, and I'm wide awake, and you're about ready to...
Man, I am toast, man. I've been going at it since 5:15 this morning. Non-stop.
Non-stop, huh?
Yeah, I returned the U-Haul this morning, unpacked some more, got things organized. Because, there's so many levels of moving. There's the organizing and the boxing, and then there's the loading and the packing. Then there's the U-Haul from KC to Nashville, and then there's the unloading, and then there's the storage unit unloading, and then there's your extremely long couch not fitting in the storage unit aspect, and then having to take the U-Haul back to put it in the garage. And then there's the more unpacking, and then carrying up the stairs and unloading, and then the reorganizing.
Wow, that's like a 9-sport event or something.
Yeah, it's lots of time on my feet.
It's a lot more.
I've logged a lot of so I've logged quite a bit, and I'm looking forward to doing this cast and then having a much less packing, storage filled day tomorrow.
Okay. Well, it's a good thing I'm the one that's going to have to stay up edit this thing and put it up.
Yeah, because if it was
iTunes.
me, it would never happen.
It wouldn't be happening tomorrow.
No, it wouldn't be. Man,
that sounds like an epic moving.
Don't say that. Boom.
Okay. So the this podcast is going to be called The State of Triathlon, and that's a little I don't know. That might be a little bogus on our part to kind of actually tackle that one. We're going to stand up and give the State of the Triathlon address right now.
I'm going to give it, and it's really, if this was any other podcast, I probably would have just canned it and said we can do it tomorrow. Yeah. But I'm pretty pumped about this one. I've got a lot of things to go over, opinions to give, feedback, and address the state of triathlon.
That's good, man. And from my perspective, the State of Triathlon is pretty good because Brad Stolberg has officially liked the Crushing Iron page.
Yes,
so
he has.
We must be moving in the right direction.
I mean, I don't know if I should tell you this, but I kindly suggested that he should like it.
Jesus, man.
But he didn't have to.
Nothing's honest anymore, man, and that's my beef about the State of Triathlon. Nothing's honest.
That's not true. That's not true. So where do you want to start? You want to start with kind of our own kind of opinions, or do you want to go through some of the great comments we got on the thread that you put out on our closed group? I mean, I could go in a million different directions. I do want to say that to start out on a really positive note, the feedback we've gotten from the podcast and the interaction I've had with athletes around not just the country but basically the globe, and the comments and everybody's general just kind of personality and character and the way they've approached this closed our Crushing Iron forum, I like to call it, has actually kind of reinstilled my belief that we might just be able to turn this thing around.
Well, I mean, that is a bold statement in a way. It's just, but I think that what we would like to see is that I just think that I was saying that there's nothing honest anymore, but I think that is what I'm kind of trying to say. I want sort of the honest truth. I don't want all this tomfoolery that goes around with the, I think we're just trying to shape this thing around, our friends and the people in the community and our personalities and things like that. And we just want it to be real, I mean, triathlon and it can really kind of get out there, you know what I mean? It's just I don't know. People just react to stuff or what have you, but I don't have a starting place on this. I was just kind of thinking about it.
Well, can I go after it then?
Yeah, you can go right now if you meant.
Yeah, I'm gonna
start us off, and then I wrote down like what a lot of people had said in the group and stuff like that.
Okay, yeah, that's kind of where I was gonna start. I was kind of gonna go combine Stuart Rogers' comment with about the people who sign up for an Ironman 6 months out, buy a bike, learn how to swim, then never do another try again. That actually really goes into what I saw that Molly Morgan posted, which was, talking about the elephant in the room, which is always, quote unquote Ironman, how much of it's changed. Here's the reason it's changed. Has it been purchased by a new group, the Wanda Group? Yes. And then you ultimately have to remember that the Ironman is a brand. It's not technically, in my opinion, an event. It's a brand, because there are other 140.6 long endurance events around the world that happen every year. They just aren't allowed to call themselves a quote unquote Ironman trademark. So Ironman is a brand. It's not a sport. It is a brand. It is not triathlon, in my opinion, either. And the reason that the prices have gone up, the reasons that races are not selling out anymore, are because of the one and doners. When triathlon became really, really trendy 4 or 5 years ago, it became the bucket list sport for a good while. So you had a ton of people with expendable income that could buy bikes, buy wheels, sign up for races, do this. And what it did was it actually kind of padded the numbers of what the real interest in the sport was, because there was such an influx. There was such a large influx of people who wanted to participate in triathlon, but there weren't enough races. So what happened is Ironman tried to adapt and grow, purchase more races, add more races. When they did that, well, guess what? All these people they were kind of catering to quit.
Mm-hmm. Thanks to Heinz Ward.
Yeah, his whole chocolate milk thing is basically what ruined the sport in general. But no, I mean, so they created and changed their model based on not a loyal customer. They based it on somebody who's a one and done person. In business there's always how many people are return, come and buy from you again, or how many people are just one and done? What's your customer acquisition? And what I guess what they're finding out now is that we added so many races and now we can't sell them out because all these people that we catered to and expanded for really don't love the sport, really don't love triathlon. They just wanted to do it for a year, get their badge of honor, say they did an Ironman triathlon, and then go pick up golf or pick up the next thing they're going to put on their bucket list, or go to Africa and shoot an elephant. Who knows? And so that's what's wrong with the overpopulation of races, and then the prices being jacked up. You jack up prices when the demand is high. Much like Uber does with a surge. If there's too many riders and not enough vehicles, they jack up the price. That's just what you're going to do. And so they're kind of in a pickle. I mean, you probably won't think they are, but I definitely see signs that they have made some poor decisions. And I would totally expect them to close some races here in the next 6 to 12 months. And just discontinue them to kind of recreate their demand by contraction versus expansion.
Yeah, I guess that's the cleanest answer to everything as far as supply and demand and everything like that. But it's like you said. I mean, I don't, like some of these races that aren't selling out is, did they always sell out? I mean, is that a huge deal? Are they just not making enough money? I mean, are they not making any money? I mean, that's the question that I have is like, why can't they, like you were just saying, they appeal to the people that really aren't their core. It was sort of like let's just scrape some frosting off the top while we can get it. And, I kind of think a lot of sports are doing that, I mean, that's what Major League Baseball lost me because they completely flipped the shark as far as like traditional baseball fans go. I start watching. They're just trying to appeal to people who don't even really care about baseball just to try and get more people in the door. So they've created this, Ironman's created this, sort of one and done bucket list thing when in reality it should be something that is driven by people who want to change their life and be, be in better shape and be better people. And it's, that's how I've always looked at it as something that can really fuel a lifestyle change and not just be a climb, some kind of mountain and just like hang your medal at the top and walk away from it. It just seemed like it cheapened everything along the way to me.
Oh, yeah, it's definitely devalued it. When we talked about that on our last podcast with them, they call Kona a World Championship, and yet they give away slots, which is insane. And it devalues it for all the people who work so hard and train so hard to actually qualify the legit way. And so they have to go toe the line with somebody who just had an amount of money, they bought one off of eBay, or they're a corporate, executive, whatever, corporate challenge, or they were the lucky raffle drawing. I mean, give me a break. Like it's killing the sport, and that's why the numbers are at an 8-year low. And, I just think that, there are tons of pockets of great triathlon groups across the country, across the world. Everybody wants to support the local grassroots races, and a lot of people do. But until people kind of understand the where and how triathlon is kind of forming and developing, it's gonna stay the same. Like you said, supply and demand, and you keep giving Ironman the supply, and they're gonna keep doing what they're doing. And it just kind of brings me to my next topic. The state of triathlon is that if you watch professional triathlon over the last year, 2 years, 3 years, at least, or 4 years, and you don't recognize the importance of starting short and fast and then going long, you're missing the boat. Which also goes into the people who do the one and done, where I'm only going to do triathlon if I can only do an Ironman this year. It's not about development. It's about what I want, and I want it now, and I'm just going to do it. And what that says about your life and where you are, we could go on a whole other podcast about that. But from a development standpoint, your reigning world champions are all athletes who started at the ITU distance, sprint and Olympic, kind of paid their way, paid their dues, got really fast, and then finally bumped up. Jan Frodeno, Olympic gold medalist, 70.3 champion, and now the reigning 2-time Ironman world champion. Danielle Reeve did the same thing. And now you see guys like, in my opinion, I'm a huge fan of Lionel Sanders and his story, but I believe he missed his shot to win a world championship. Because people like Alistair Brownlee and Javier Gomez, who are moving up from short course, who can swim 3 to 4 minutes faster, and run just like he can and bike at the front, I think he's just missed his shot. I think St. George was a sign of things to come. He wasn't able to track down Alistair Brownlee because he was so far back in the swim. And people can say, oh, well, he fumbled through his wetsuit in transition. And, well, he fumbled with his wetsuit in transition because he already knew how far behind he was. Because he was in that much of a hurry, in my opinion, to get it off, because he knew that seconds matter, because he was so far behind that you panic, and when you do things in a hurry, you rarely do them right. And so I think that with his lack of swim focus, and just using his as an example, he has missed the boat, and I don't think he will win another world. I don't think he'll win a world championship. because of the influx of short course athletes that are taking it over. Because the next 2 or 3 years is prime, because Tokyo is not till 2020, so they've got time. But the sport, and as an amateur triathlete, as an age grouper, you should also take that as okay, there's nothing wrong with sticking with sprints in Olympics. There's nothing wrong with fine-tuning my craft. There's nothing wrong with just getting faster and fitter and getting things right, because then I can just, it's much easier to get faster and then just go far versus going long and then trying to get faster. It's much easier to go fast and then far versus, than invert both of them.
Yeah. And as my example goes, I started with a sprint, did an Olympic, then did another Olympic, then a half, and then an Ironman, and all within just over a year. That's kind of the cycle of that. And personally, I think that was way too fast. But, I was getting older, and that was kind of part of the deal. So I just wanted to get there while I was on a roll, because I wasn't sure if I was going to continue to, train like that, and it might as well take advantage of the momentum. But the reality is, I could see how if you did put that up there as like, let's just start with an Ironman and do it, it would be miserable. You would have no enjoyment in the sport along the way. And then you do the race, and that's like 10 times worse, because it's just completely painful, and you're like, why would I even want to do this again? So in that sense, yes. But in regard to Ironman, I don't, I'm still, like, Ironman is king. And I'm the first to admit that I love Ironman races. And we had Steve Del Monte on here, and he runs an Ironman race, plus does a lot of local races on his own, and he even admitted that they are the best at what they do. And so I don't have a problem, like, I don't have a, what do you call that, a stick in my ass about Ironman in general. It's just that I don't know where it went sideways, but you just explained that, I guess. But for the most part, I do love their races. I wish that they could just, kind of get back and focus on, but they have such a stronghold on everything that I just don't know what can change in that regard as far as lore.
What if they bought the lab?
What if they bought the lab? There'd be I don't know.
And took it over and didn't allow free time on the lab, and they made you pay for it, and they had demonetized it. How would you feel?
Well, as long as I could go out there and hammer it for a reasonable amount of money, I might be in.
Would you pay $10 a session to go crush the lab on a solo track, guaranteed, no drones, kites, kids, or big wheels?
I think I would.
I think I would too.
So there you go.
We should look at that. Maybe get like acquiring it from the government or the state. I'll let you look into that. It's just so, like I was saying, like if you're an age grouper and you're just starting, stick with the sprints in the Olympics and do them, because I think, and you've kind of felt this too, like when you do an Ironman so early, then it's like, okay, what else is there left to do? If you have that mentality, it's always should be about getting better. And that should, I thought about this as I've kind of obviously been kind of immersed in the ultra marathon world these last few months. Is what would happen if you had to, if Ironman condensed and contracted its, for just North America, for example, or even globally, it contracted their races into half, and it was now a lottery to get in, like it is to a lot of the big ultra marathons. I wonder how many people would continue on that path. But a lot of these ultra marathons, you can't even put your name in the lottery unless you've either completed one or you've done a 50 miler or an 100K. So what they do is, just by the fact of, they kind of pre-qualify their registrants in a way for their abilities. So what if Ironman said, all right, we're cutting our races in half. We're going to, however, up the participants if they can fit it logistically on the race course within the city and the permits and everything like that, and we're going to do a lottery. In order to put your name in the lottery, you have had to have completed a 70.3 within the last calendar year before you even put your name in the lottery. So you're looking at a 2-year window no matter what, and or a time threshold for this. I wonder what that would do for the sport. Would it turn people away who are just looking for the 1 year, is like the 1 year quickie, or would it actually galvanize people to invest and take the more patient, purposeful route that will lead to not just 2 years, but 4 years, 6 years, 8 years? And because once you find yourself buying into the process and buying into developing yourself as a triathlete and not being in love with a brand, but being in love with the sport, then I think that's where you can actually see some long-term growth and development, and maybe things turn around.
Yeah, I'm fully behind that idea. I think with the caveat that I just, with exemptions maybe, like if you've done an Ironman, I don't see the reason you'd have to like always get in the lottery. Like if you've done several in a row, or that's sort of your lifestyle, to have to go through a lottery process doesn't seem really right. But I totally think that would be a great idea to have a minimum 70.3 in your back pocket before, because like I said before, that really helped me to do a 70.3, and it gave me a different sort of confidence, and it inspired me. I just think going straight to a full Ironman with nothing like that behind you is going to destroy your attitude. I think it's got to be a long shot that you're going to go there and have a great day and race like crazy and keep going. I think that's a good idea. Especially when you're starting, I think you should have to do a 70.3. I don't know about if you'd need the lottery, even if you put that caveat in there.
Yeah. I don't even think you have to, but I just think right now where the sport is, we need it. We need development. We need to slow down. And that's the problem, again, with just kind of where we are as a society, is we want everything now, and we want it as soon as we can get it because we want to tell people about it, and then it's like it never happened. And triathlon is the perfect athletic example for that. And I hate seeing races be canceled. I hate seeing it's just changed so much, and I think they can definitely get better. But I think it's all about it'll all ultimately be about the people who participate within the sport, versus, pricing and attendance and race location and stuff like that. So, I think there's a lot of ways to do it, but, I would say, in general, the state of triathlon is a very sensitive, fragile place at the moment, in my opinion. And it could go either way, but it's definitely not growing, which has to be alarming for the people who have invested billions of dollars. That something needs to happen, and happen quick for it to change.
Well, let me ask you this, because I've only been around this sport 5 or 6 years, and it seems to me like I've seen it change in that regard, as far as the mystique of it or whatever. And it's almost like I would imagine what running went through. Back in the day when I was growing up, there was a handful of marathons around, and now there's multiple marathons in every city, and there's 10Ks and there's half marathon. There's just so many running events. So on one hand, it's great because obviously a lot more people are getting active and chasing these sorts of things, but on the other hand, it kind of feels like it's a big, just like picnic.
Is it?
What?
Are a lot more people doing these events, or are there just a lot more events?
Oh, I don't know. I was just, I don't know that for a fact. I would just say, I meant from the running perspective. It seems like everybody, when I was growing up, nobody used to do marathons, and now everybody does them. That's my point, is that it's sort of become, we talked about it last podcast about the Nashville Marathon. The guy who won it ran a 2:40, and it's like, I don't know, the whole thing just feels like, what is this anymore?
Yeah, he would have. If real competition would have shown up, he would have got dusted.
Oh man,
Like by probably like 20 minutes.
Yeah, and he won by 16 minutes. So
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
is it? I guess what I'm getting at is it gym class or is it sort of a race?
I think that's up to the person. I think that kind of where we are now as a society is that everyone puts on events. It's up to the participant to decide if they're either A, racing or B, participating.
Mm-hmm.
Because there are no like the things that they call them like now like championships or North American championships or world championships. Is it? Like besides the Olympics, I'm like, is it really? Just because you named it a championship doesn't make it a championship. Championships are usually decided upon by who shows up and the competition and how they got there. Just because you name a race the North American Championship doesn't make it a championship, in my opinion. Just because you, it's like somebody giving themselves their own nickname. It's like that doesn't really stick. You didn't really earn it. You just kind of gave it to yourself because you felt like it. So I think at this point it's ultimately, which is fine. I mean, I think it's good it keeps the pipeline wide and open as far as allowing so many people, which is I think you should allow everyone to do something like that. But there is a big difference in the pointy end and the back end and in the whole middle, but it's ultimately obviously up to the racer or the participant rather if they're there to race or they're there to participate. And if they're racing, are they racing against themselves and others, or are they specifically just going to better their previous time and push their own personal selves to the limits?
Yeah. How many people in an average Ironman are there just to kind of do it versus actually going out and race it, I guess? I mean,
racing an Ironman, I guess it depends on what your definition of racing is.
Well, let's say racing yourself even. Like, legitimately.
But then I think you're racing a previous PR.
Mm-hmm.
And if it was with an Ironman, I mean, that could vary between multiple distances and multiple race venues and courses and all kinds of different other variables. I think ultimately it's just kind of racing against yourself is I'm pushing myself to a limit that I would push myself whether no one was looking or everyone was looking.
That's a good point.
I feel like I could put that on a t-shirt.
I think, with the Flip the Shark t-shirts, we could be onto something there.
I think so too, man. Nailed it.
So, what?
Let me ask you this, so we can get off on a little humorous note. What do you think about people using #boom, #epic?
Oh man, that's like I personally kind of, it doesn't really piss me off as much as I'm like kind of eye rolling on it a little bit.
That's it? You guys kind of eye roll it?
Yeah, I mean, it's just tired,
I don't even know what boom means.
Yeah, I don't know where that came from either, but it's been around a while.
I know that it's annoying.
You know what it feels like to me? It feels like it's filtered through every other group in the world and then sort of got to triathlon and they thought it was hot. So it's like super outdated kind of verbiage. Oh, which takes me on to the other one. How do you feel about hacks? Triathlon hacks.
We've covered that. They're garbage and I can't stand them. Moving on.
I know. I know we've covered a lot of stuff, but that's
true.
State of hacks. True. It's like now the current version of how you feel about it. And I think that honestly, I think we're all looking for, good ideas and good advices and things like that. That's just sort of the state of the world. Is the state of the world is looking for hacks, and that can kind of translate into shortcut.
That's true.
And I don't.
It makes it more confusing And one of my athletes, Matthew Dickinson, sent me an article. This has been a few weeks ago, and it was from some. I won't say who wrote it because I despise this person in general. But
Wow.
the first line was, "You don't need a coach because there's so much information out there. You should be able to figure it out."
Oh man.
But the kicker is that's why people do need a coach, because there's so much information out there and 95% of it is absolute garbage. And you need somebody to decipher through and swim through all the BS, so you don't have to, and you don't have to make the mistakes.
Yeah.
And so it's total polar opposite. I mean, it's too confusing. There are too many people. There are too many avenues, and it's too easy and accessible for somebody to write their own blog and call themselves a triathlon expert, or those ridiculous people who have that Triathlon Hacks website. I mean, if I knew anything about technology or coding, I would crash that puppy in a minute.
I'm just trying to make a living, man.
Yeah, they're trying to make a living off taking advantage of new triathletes who don't know any better, and they're actually they're doing a disservice to the sport.
Yeah,
anyway.
with that, you want to talk about that quickly? We did get an email, I think it was from Ross, about how does a person weed through these, hack websites?
Ross, it was a great email, and I don't
sort of the fake news of triathlon. How do you get through that?
And I appreciate, and I will tell you that, whether we come down too harsh sometimes or not, I will always do my best to tell you what's BS and what's not. And the thing is, man, is that if you haven't been in the sport for a really long time and you don't know a lot of people who know a lot, it's almost impossible to decipher. Mm-hmm. But a lot of it is minimizing who and what you follow and or expose yourself to. Like, I literally don't follow any type of triathlon publication because it's all based on who wants me to post this based on marketing dollars. And they give the most worthless, 10 weeks to your best 70.3. Okay, no thanks. Kind of like how I think I responded to another athlete's question in the Crushing Iron forum, was that, or maybe it was an email. It was like, the big reason why I don't like not online, but some online training plans or article driven training plans is because it casts such a wide net. Yes, you may get some success here or two, but at the same time you're also going to catch some fish in the net and tangle them that shouldn't be there, and it's going to end up hurting people or sending them back versus propelling them forward. Mm-hmm. And that it's just not. I mean, I get why they do it because it makes a good headline for people to purchase. But it's tough. I mean, it's really tough to decipher. What's garbage and what's not, and it's even from, everybody in there. I am by no means the world's most outstanding coach. I think I'm a pretty good one, but everybody and their brother now is a coach. And it's hard. It's oversaturated to the millionth degree. And hey, hopefully this State of Triathlon Union address can help turn it around. Boom. Boom.
That was epic, dude.
Boom. Hashtag boom.
Come on.
So, dude, it kills me, man. It's like, your workout wasn't hashtag boom. Okay, let's be honest. Okay, and your workout in the rain wasn't hashtag epic either. Like, quit trying to Instagram filter your workout by adding a hashtag epic. Like, just give me a break. It's not. And if it is, you're doing it wrong. 95% of the time it should be boring and not fancy, and the only thing I want to look at is if you completed a whole week. I could really care less how great you did in one workout. I want to know you did the whole week. And so if you're doing epic workouts, then there's no way in hell you're actually doing a whole week. So
yeah, Boom. So
God.
that in the nutshell, I think that what you do and kind of what we're talking about most of the time is that there's so much, as far as the state of triathlon information goes. I mean, it's really about how do you make this simple, man, and how do you get through this, because really what it comes down to is just doing the work. And we talk about that. I mean, there's all these different like newfangled plans and it's or ideas or workouts or whatever you want to call them, and it's like, why? What is that? It's like most people can't even get in the top half of their age group, so it's like you just got to put in time, man, and
you gotta look long term.
Yeah,
you can't
exactly.
obsess
That's what
about
I'm getting at,
the short.
I guess.
Yeah, you can't obsess about the short term. And there's so many things that will transpire over the course of your training and the course of a season and the course of your career. That not one race is going to define you. It's what the sport does to help define yourself. And I had a conversation earlier with a guy, an athlete I've coached, who's had a pretty rough start to the year, just with injuries and sickness and some personal things. And he's like, man, I'm finally in a groove. I'm feeling good, man. Like I had to fail first in order to, get here. And I was like, dude, you didn't fail. Like you just had to kind of find your way, and you had to kind of find what path was going to work best for you. And now when you do cross that finish line, it's going to make your journey in that experience so much more gratifying because of how hard you've had to work and what you've experienced and overcome in spite of it.
Yeah.
And that's what makes the sport and any kind of endurance sport so awesome, is that it gives you an opportunity and a platform to transform the way you live, the way you think, the way you act, the way you treat people. And it'll give you confidence that can go well beyond swimming, cycling, and running, and into your personal life, and your professional life, into your relationships, and truly actually change you, the fabric of who you are. And if you rush it and you obsess about an MDOT, then you're missing the whole picture. It's kind of like it's kind of how I envision people when I'm running on the trails and I see people walking and texting on their phone. I'm like, nature's all around you. You're totally missing the point of going on a walk. like you're missing it. And that's how I feel about people who try to rush these journeys, or the opportunity to go on a journey, is like, dude, you're just missing it. You just can't evolve by rushing anything. And so I think that's a part of the sport, and the how it develops you, and how it takes time, that I wish people would kind of take a step back and smell the roses.
Yeah. I did see a guy, it was beautiful Sunday here. I was running through the park. I saw a guy with a fishing pole tied to his park bench texting. It was like,
wow.
I mean, I don't know. It was crazy, It's like, wow. On that same thing, you talk about these epic boom workouts that just feel amazing, that give you all this confidence, and that's what, that's what you take into the race, But to me, it's always been the ones where I've struggled, that I try to ingrain, and those are the ones I feel best about, and it's taken me a while to get there, but it's the ones
you remember.
Yeah, they're the ones you remember, and they're the ones that are most valuable in Ironman. I mean, let's face it, we kind of like gravitate to talk about Ironman naturally, because that is sort of like the longer one and the one we like to, compare everything to. But, your 8 mile, great run, a hill run or whatever, has got nothing to do with finishing a marathon after 112 miles on the bike. You know what I mean?
Yep.
It's just like, yeah, you felt great, but that is not how you're going to feel. You have to learn how you're going to feel during the run. That's what you need to get used to. So I want more of that attitude. I think, speaking of State of Triathlon, I like that idea because that's what you're talking about when you mean you're learning and you're growing and you're taking this in a long-term perspective, because it's not about blowing out a 10K or something like that.
Exactly. Yep.
So with that, we'd like to welcome you to join our Facebook closed group.
Yeah, I'm really digging the conversation and the interaction that everybody's having, and I've had a couple private messages like, hey, can you please add me to the Crushing Iron closed group? I don't know how.
I don't either, so you have to request it.
So I'm just like, dude, I've been on Facebook for a month, maybe. I don't really know how this works.
You seem like you're getting kind of back in the groove there a little bit, though.
I am, and I'm enjoying, good people. Just search, first off, like our Crushing Iron Facebook page. And then if you want to be a part of the discussion, search Crushing Iron Group. And you can ask to be part of our Crushing Iron closed group. And we'll obviously, if you're not some kind of a bot or just a general prick, we will allow you to be in the group and join the conversation. I think we're up to like 65 members. Got some from the UK, Canada, New Zealand. It's pretty cool. It's good, and I do want to reiterate this from a previous message. There is no stupid question. There's usually always stupid responses to stupid questions. So if you're too afraid to ask a question because you feel like it's too newbie or too rookie or too first year, and you feel like it's already been asked before, We've basically just done like 56 podcasts, and they've all been about the same thing. We just kind of repurpose them. So the questions are the same way. You're gonna have you're gonna have a million questions, and don't be afraid to ask them, because the people on the forum are very, very nice, and we're all looking to kind of help each other out. And so don't be afraid to ask, and we'll do our best to answer them. And so will the other awesome forum members that we have.
Yeah. And there's still jokes flying, and it's fun and everything too. It's just that we got to keep that in mind. That it's like everybody was there. Everybody's been certain places, and and not only that, just because you think it's a dumb question or whatever, it doesn't mean it is. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, and the more than likely you're asking a question 10 other people really want to ask, just don't have the courage to ask.
Exactly. And then the people that respond, and this is just general web stuff, but the people that reply with snide remarks are usually the ones that maybe have gotten dumb advice along the way, and then they don't even know what the heck they're talking about.
Exactly. And I do quickly, for those awesome, whatever I just said, 60, how many people did I say were in our closed group? 60 something?
I think so. Yeah. 60.
Yeah, 65. It would be super awesome if our great forum members and all our other dedicated subscribers and listeners, if you could please go to iTunes and leave us a review. They're super helpful. We're up to 32. We've kind of hit a snag. We're on a pretty big roll, and Mike was handing out T-shirts, fanny packs, handshakes, and high fives. If you do love us, or even if you don't, and you hate dogs like this one guy did, please leave us a review on iTunes. We're much appreciated. And thanks for listening. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, and in the spirit of training for the long haul, I think it's important that we mention, we're in this for the long haul because this is something that we're really digging, and we want to keep adding more and more content, and that's coming. It's just a matter of Robbie just moving back to town, and we're going to get together and start putting more articles out there and more videos and things of that nature. So keep hanging. Let's keep building it.
Keep on trucking.
Keep on trucking, man.
All right, man.
All right, well, I'm going to send you off to bed.
Thanks, dude.
While I stay up and do our work.
Appreciate you. Boom. Good night, folks. Epic podcast. Come out.
Great night.